In this video, I'll be showing you how to cut about 10 to 12 necklines, and for the neckline, of course, you will need a bodice. So I have all of this drafted out for the purpose of this tutorial, and I will be using my pattern masters, my measuring tape, and my pencil to show you. And let's get to it. The first one we'll be starting with is the Queen Anne neckline, and it's quite simple. I'll start from the top of this paper now, that's the shoulder point, and go down to how deep I want the neckline to be. I like it to be at 8 inches. Then for the neck width, I'll be using 2.5 for my size. If you're bigger, you can use 3 inches or 3.5. Then I'm going to measure from the shoulder again to about 5 inches, and then I'll mark it out going to the armhole this way. Then on that line, I'm going to come in by 2 inches, or how wide you want the neckline to be. Okay, but for me, I usually come in 2 inches or 2.5 from the armhole part. Then I'm going to connect from the 2.5 on the neckline width to that 5 inches. Then I'll curve from that point to the neck depth of 8 inches. And that's pretty much about it. It's really simple. And from what you're seeing here, you see that it's already a Queen Anne neckline. Now, to make the joining of the shoulder very easy, I'll be coming down 0.25 from the shoulder, that's the shoulder line, and then I'll slant it to meet the shoulder tip, just like that. That way you tighten the neckline, and it's really easier that way to join the shoulders. And I'm trying to just give it a style here. This is totally optional, but I like to see this kind of Queen Anne neckline. So I'm going to place my curve the same way you see me doing it. Then I'll give it this curve and I'll cut it out. And after cutting it out, this is what it looks like. Cute, right? So I'll go ahead and keep this aside, then we'll go to the next. And next on the list is the square neckline. Really simple. So for the neck width, I'll use 4 inches and 5 inches to show you. You can make it as wide or as narrow as you want it. Then for the depth, I'll be using 7 inches. I'll go ahead and mark the same 4 inches and 5 inches neck width on this point too. Then I'm going to connect it. I want to show you what the two actually looks like 5 inches and 4 inches wideness. I'll go ahead and connect it this way. Then I'll first cut out the 4 inches to show you. I might not even cut out the 5 inches, but it's just the same process. Okay, so this is what it looks like after cutting it out. And for any wide neckline, please go ahead and tighten the shoulder. Tighten the neckline, or you tighten on the shoulder or on the depth of the neckline. But here I'm just doing 0.25 tightening. You can do half inch if that is what you want. Next on the list is the rectangle neckline, and it's just like the square neckline, but this one is usually really wider than the square neckline. So I'm going to come from the shoulder tip 2 inches, and then I'll mark the same thing on the depth. I want to use 7.5 as the depth of this one. Okay, so I'll go ahead and mark it across this way, just square it out this way. Then you will also be needing your dart, which I will just quickly put in the dart here. So this dart right here will be a guide for you to tighten the depth of this neckline, because this is really wide, and if you do not tighten it, it's going to gape. So I'm going to do about half inch tightening, which is 1 inch actually. By the time you open it up, you're doing this on both sides, right? By the time you close the dart, it's going to be half inch on this side, half inch on the other side, which is 1 inch. So you're going to open the dart on the waist, then you close the neckline. You don't necessarily have to sew it, but I want to do this style for the rectangle. So from the neck depth, I'm going to come up 2 inches. You can go up the more if you want, or you can do lesser than 2 inches. Then I'm going to place my curve this way and curve it to the other end of the neckline length, just like this. It's very simple. Then you will be doing a tightening too on this one, because I've tried this neckline and it gaped because I didn't tighten the neckline enough on the neckline depth. I only did the shoulder neckline tightening. So on the neckline width, I came down half inch, and that's the first tightening. Then I'll measure what I have left from that point to the neckline depth, divide it into two, and come in half inch from that point. Then I'm going to place my curve this way and give it this shape that you're seeing here. This is just the shape I want to go for. This style of rectangle. It's really nice. So I'll give it this curve. Then we'll go ahead and do the other tightening. Since we are trying to avoid gaping, this neckline tightening is going to come where it's likely to gape, and I want to tighten on the center part of this neckline. That's the center part this way. So I'll take out half inch, just the same way you see it, and you see that I directed the dart going to the waist dart. Okay, the waist dart actually stopped on my bust point. Okay, so you direct the dart to the waist dart, and then I'll close it this way, tape it down. Then I'm going to blend in these distorted lines before we cut out the neckline. I tighten the neckline on the neckline with half inch, and also use half inch on this neckline depth. This is totally optional, especially the neckline depth. You can do more, but on the neckline tip, half inch is just okay. Okay, or 0.75 actually. And after cutting it out, this is what it looks like. You can see it's still really wide even after tightening. Imagine not tightening at all. You're just going to gape on this part. So this is the shape. You can decide to alter it to what you want, but this is how square neckline usually is. Next on the list is the scoop neckline, which can be this deep or this deep or even this deep depending on what you want. But one thing in common is that it's usually wide, like about 1 inch or 1.5 from the shoulder tip. And I'm going to come in 1.5 from the shoulder tip for mine. Then I already have my standard neckline for this pattern, so I'm going to minus 3 inches from that point and go down to how low I want it to be, and I'm using 6.5 for this. And as showed in the pictures, it can be deeper than just 6.5. Okay, so I'm going to just connect it this way, and you can see that this is narrow. The very right way to do it is to go ahead and measure the neck width on where you want the neckline to be, like on the neck depth. When you get the neck depth, you also go ahead and measure the neck width on that point and connect it. That way it can be easier to curve it to have that very round shape that you should have. Okay, so this is it here. Then from this point, just come in by 1.5 or 1 inch, 1.5 or 1 inch, if you really want to have that scoop neckline beauty. Okay, place your curve just the same way you see it, and then you curve it to the other end. But if you don't want it very deep like that, you can make the neckline depth deeper than 6.5, then you make it narrower at the top. It's just simple like that. Okay, so this is it. And then because it's a wide neckline, you're going to also tighten the neckline or it will gape. But if you're using a stretchy fabric and thick fabric, you can just decide to minus half inch on your shoulder and leave this part. But if it's not like a bodycon fabric, just go ahead and tighten the neckline on your pattern just the same way. You see that I did half inch. I'll open the waist dart and close the neckline dart, tightening this way, tape it down, and then I'll blend in the neckline. I'll blend in the neckline before I cut it out. I will first cut out the first line to show you how deep and cute that one is before I cut out the other one. And this is a really good option if you're not going for something too deep. Then I'll go ahead and cut this one, and this is a good option if you want it really wide. So this is it for scoop neckline. I'll keep this aside, and next on the list is the sweetheart neckline, which is quite popular. First, I'll measure the neck depth, and you see me minusing 3 inches, which is the standard neckline that I already have on this pattern. I'll go down to how deep I want the neckline to be, and then I have 3 inches as the standard neckline there. I added extra 1 inch, making it 4 inches. I'll come here and mark the same 4 inches, then I will just square the lines, the points out. After that, I'll come up here 3 inches from the neck depth, and then I'm going to use my pattern master. Just use the curve to curve it this way, And that's pretty much about the sweetheart neckline. It's really simple. You go ahead and leave it like that, or you make it really like you make the sweetheart part really curvier than this if you want. You can also go ahead and leave it straight, or you give it this curve that you see me give it on that point. And you can also make it lower, the sweetheart lower than the 3 inches I came up. You can do 2 inches or 2.5 depending on what you want. Then I'll just go ahead and cut this out to show you how it looks, and this is it. Really simple and cute. Then I'll go ahead and cut the other one to show you what that one looks like. This is the popular sweetheart neckline actually. Can you see that? It can be deeper than this, the depth if you want. It can also be off shoulder sweetheart neckline, which is really cute. Now, next on the list is the wrap neckline. Yes, I will be showing you how to go about this the right way and how to tighten the wrap so that it's not gaping. It usually gape, okay? So I'm going to go down to 7 inches, which is where I want the neckline, like the V part of the wrap, to stop. Then I will open up the pattern this way. Can you see that? I will just extend that line so that I know that this is the 7 inches, and you also need to get the midpoint of this. Since this is a folded paper, right? Get the midpoint this way. Then on the waistline, I'm going to divide my waist measurement by 4. You can just do that, or you from this center line now, you will mark your bust span measurement depending on how or where you want the wrap to be. But here I just divided my waist measurement by 4 and marked it out. Then I'm going to connect from the 7 inches to that point, and then I'll connect like this to the neck depth and the neck width. Remember, this is standard neckline, which is 3 by 3. You can decide to go in the more or just do 2.5. But this is pattern. While transferring to the fabric, you add your sewing allowance. Okay, so I did 3.5 actually, and then to tighten it usually gape around the bust area. So you're going to go down to your bust point, and that's where you focus to tighten the wrap. Then after that, I'm going to now come on that bust point line and direct the dart going to the waistline like this. Okay, you can decide to direct it going to the bust span line on the other side if you want, but or you just do it this way. After all, it's going to be free on that point, so anywhere you direct the dart is just fine. I take out 1 inch. You can do more, you can do 1.25 or 1.5 if you want. Then you're going to close the dart this way. It's very simple. Close it that way, then you tape it down, and then you blend in the wrap line. And after that, I will just go ahead and cut it out. So you cut 2 of these on your fabric. You fold your fabric and place this one on it and cut it out, and that's it for the wrap neckline. Next on the list is the monostrap neckline. And for monostrap neckline, you will have to cut your pattern and fold. You can actually do this on a single paper, but that means you'll be doing the neckline on your fabric. Okay, so the first neckline depth, yeah, that's where it's going to be on the center front, on the neck part. I want it to be just 3.5. I already have 3 inches as the standard neckline depth, and I came down half inch again, and that's it there. Now for some monostrap, you see that it goes all the way to the armhole depth, like it's just slanted all the way to the armhole depth. And then for some, it's like 3 inches or 4 inches from the armhole. So for the neck width, I'm using 4 inches. I added extra 1 inch to already 3 inches I have on the as the neckline width. I don't know if you understand. Then I'm going to connect it to that 3.5 on the center front as the neckline depth, and then I'll connect it to the 4.5, I think, that I came down from the armhole here. Then, like I said, you can decide to just connect it all the way to the armhole depth depending on what you want. Then if you're going for this one, this particular just going all the way to the armhole depth, you will definitely have to tighten the neckline so that it will not gape. Either you take it out on the side, you take out about 1 inch from the side of this part, or you just tighten going towards the bust, yeah, the waist dart, just like this. I hope that is clear enough. So whichever one you want. For a stretchy fabric that you don't need waist that, you can just take this out, take out this 1 inch on the side seam, and it will still work just fine. So for this one, you're going to open the waist that, and then you close the neckline tightening this way, tape it down, and then blend in the lines and cut it out. And that's basically it about the monostrap neckline. So after cutting, I'll go ahead and keep this aside, and next on the list is the symmetric neckline. And for this, you also need to cut out your pattern and fold. Now for a symmetric neckline, one side of the neckline is going to be, the width is going to be wider than the other. So most times you can just come in 2 inches from the shoulder tip for one side of the neckline, and the other one can maintain your standard neckline or just a little wider than your standard neckline. Okay. So for the wider part of the neckline, I'm using 4.5, I guess, or 5. Like I said before, you can just come in 2 inches from the shoulder tip or 2.5, depending on how wide you want the shoulder to be. Then for the neckline depth, I'm using 7.5. It's going to be symmetric, right? Then on this side, I'll go in more by half inch, and that would be 3.5 for one side of the neckline, and then um 4.5 or 5 inches on the other part. I can't really remember what I use on this other side. Then I'm going to place my curve this way. I'm going for this style of asymmetric. It can just be round, you connect it round, or any shape that you want, but I'm going for this style that you see here, which is really cute, right? Really cute. So this part is totally optional. You can decide to just connect it straight, or you give it a slight curve like this, depending on what you want. And that's it for a symmetric neckline. Wider on one part and narrower on the other part. So I'll just go ahead and cut it out so that you see the beauty proper. And that's it right there. So you just go ahead and transfer this to your fabric. You don't need to tighten anything, it will not give, trust me. And then we'll move over to the next. And next on the list is the V neckline. So for V neckline, it can be narrower like the one you see on the left, or wider than the one like the one you see on the right, depending on what you want. For wider V neckline, it's just better that you make the neckline depth smaller, not deeper, so that it will not really give you a hard time. Depending on what you want anyway, but V-neck can be narrow and it can be wide depending on what you want. So if you want it narrow, you just connect this straight from the neckline depth of choice to the neckline standard neckline width. And just like I said, just go ahead and do it anyhow wide you want it. It can be wide like this, it can be deep like what you see here, it can be narrower, just anyhow you want it. And it can also be a bit curvy and not just straight, right? So anyhow you want it, it's just V neckline. But if it's really wide and deep, you have to do some amount of tightening. Forget that it's a V neckline. It's really going to wrap so well. But if it's really wide, you tighten the neckline on the shoulder, right? I hope that is clear enough. So I'll go ahead and cut about 2 or 3 to show you what it looks like. So like I said, if it's really wide, you're going to tighten with half inch on the shoulder. On both sides, you use half inch and just slant it to the shoulder tip like that. And that's it for the V neckline. And next on the list is the keyhole or yoke neckline. And for this, you will need 2 neckline depths. The second one, will be using 7.5 as the depth of the neckline, and then the first one, which will be the neckline of the yoke, will be, I will use 3.5. Okay, then for the neck width, I'll also be using 3.5, and then I will connect the 3.5 and 3.5 by 3.5, just like this. After that, I'm going to measure from here the bridge that I want for the keyhole or the yoke, and I usually use 1.5 or 1 inch depending on my mood. So I marked 1.5 here, and then on the side you're going to determine how wide you want the keyhole to be, just exactly how you want it. You're going to come in on that point. Then you're going to connect from this neckline to going to that point like this, and then you connect from the bridge to going to this side like this. You go ahead and give it any shape that you want. If you want round, go ahead and give it a round shape like this. If you want it wider, you can just give it an oval shape, connect it all the way to the armhole to meet the other line that you have there. Then for this type of neckline, it's usually gape. Let's say you don't have that, you're using a stretchy fabric. You're going to tighten the neckline this way. Take out half inch on this keyhole. You can leave the down can work, or you take it out on the side, on the armhole side if you want. But for the upper part, if you don't tighten it, it's going to gape, even if if you do not tighten the down part. Okay. If you want sweetheart, like I said before, go ahead and give it any neckline shape that you want. But the tightening is very, very, very important so that it will not gape. I've tried this several times. The down part will be okay, and the yoke will gape. So this is the solution to that. You connect this. You see, I connected the dart to, like, I directed the dart going to the shoulder tip, and that way it will be easier to close it. So after cutting the other neckline out, you see what we have. I'll cut this one out, and then I'm going to slightly cut this one. I won't cut it out now. Then I'll close the dart this way. Just go ahead and fold the dart this way, and then you tape it down. And after taping it down, I'll just go ahead and blend in this line, the keyhole line or the neckline, and then I'll cut it out. So after cutting it out, this is what it looks like. By the time you place the two together, you see that the down part will be bigger. Don't worry about that. Like I said, you can take out about half inch on both sides of the armhole for the down part if you want, or you just leave it like that. It's really going to work, and you can see how cute it is. Now if you want the round neckline, I'll just cut it out and show you what that one looks like, and you can see how cute it is. Next on the list is the scallop neckline. For the scallop neckline, it can be in form of off shoulder, or it can be in shoulder form depending on what you want. So you're going to get the neck depth of choice and the neck width that you so desire. It's totally optional. Okay, then I'm going to square it out this way. I want to do the shoulder one. I'll actually be showing you two methods, so you choose the one that you want. Then you're going to get a template. If you don't have something like an object that can give you the shape that you want, you can just go ahead and create it in a paper just like this. So let's say you want to do the round like the one you saw in the picture. You're going to create the template this way, cut it out, and then you're going to place it on the neckline this way. Okay, so like I said, do the neckline width of choice. It can be wider, or it can just be 3.5, just like me here. Then you're going to just place it this way, and you trace it out. You place it like that, trace it out until you get to the top of the neckline, and that's it. Then to sew the neckline, you don't have to cut it out exactly as you trace it out on the pattern. You can just simply like place it like this on your fabric, and then you sew it. It will be easier for you that way. But I want to go for zigzag or block shape. This style of neckline actually has a professional name, but I've forgotten. So here I'm going to come up 2 inches and then go in like this. One on this part, I'll just go in half inch or less than half inch, depending on how wide you want it here. But the first step is 2 inches up. This one is really going to be smaller than the rest. Then from that 2 inches, I'll go in 1 inch, and then make sure I have the same 2 inches on that point. Just follow the step. I don't even need to confuse you by explaining. So it's going to continue like this. Then on that point, I'm going to also go up by 2 inches again and connect it. Then I'll go in 1 inch on that point and go up 2 inches, just step by step like that, until I get to the top of the neckline. So I measured what I have left from that point, and it's about 1.75. And this works because I used 3.5 as the neckline width. Let's say these 2 inches I use as the length of these tips, I use 1.5. It's going to come up to like 4.5 as the neck width. So just go ahead and check whichever one you want. If you want the neckline narrower like mine, you're going to just use 2 inches like this. But if you want it wider, this place that I use 2 inches, you can just use 1.5 or less, right? But this is really cute. I so love this neckline. So this aside, and then we'll go over to the next one. And the next neckline on the list is the boat or canoe neckline, and it's really usually wide. Like we come in 1.5 from the shoulder tip, and the depth is usually 2.5, 3 inches. So it's wider on the side and higher on the neckline depth. Just something like this. It's already giving that canoe vibe. So you can make it like more rounder than this one if you don't want it straight like this. But this is just what a both neckline or canoe neckline looks like. Then you're going to cut it out. It's really simple. And the back neckline is also going to be the same, just as high as this and also as wide as this one, and that's it. And that's basically it about the both neckline or canoe neckline. We'll keep this aside and move over to the next, which might actually be the last on the list, the halter neckline. So for this, I will be using 3 inches as the neck width, and the depth I'm also going to use 3 inches. Just use your standard neckline measurement if you want the one with turtleneck, the halter neck with turtleneck. There are different types of halter neck, but I'm going for this. Next, I will come down 1 inch from the shoulder on the neckline. 1 inch. You can also do 1.5, and I think I'll be going with the 1.5. Then I'm going to connect it, just blend it into the armhole this way, and that's basically it. So you go ahead and cut it out. But then if you're making this for a really small person, you might need to tighten the part that you blended to the armhole part. So you first go ahead and get your dart, and then you tighten towards the dart. You can actually make that as a princess line if you want, but I have my dart here now, and I'm going to like tighten with about ½ inch. Or better still, like I said, you can just make this a princess line, connect this to wherever you want it on the armhole part, and then that would help tighten that part. This is if you're making this for a small person. It's usually give just before the armhole, and if you don't want that, just go ahead and follow this tip, open up the waist dart so that you can close the tightening, and that's it. So for easier closing, when you're working with a folded pattern paper this way, you might want to trace out, like you just trace on the pattern anywhere just to secure the pattern, the two together. It will be easier for you to fold it and then you close it. So after closing the dart, of course, you go ahead and blend in this line this way, and then you cut it out. I'll be showing you next how to go about the collar, in case you want to go for just a simple collar, not a high neck collar. I know you know there are different types of collar, so I'll be showing you just the round, just how to go about the round one. So you will need this part of the neckline which is still complete, and then you're going to get a fresh pattern this way and place it on it like this. You don't need to fold the pattern. So you're going to place it this way, and then I'll just go ahead and cut out the back neckline on this one, and the back is going to be like 1 inch or 1.5 depending on what you want. The depth of the back neckline is going to be 1 inch or 1.5, and then you're going to connect it this way and also cut it out. So we'll be using the tool to cut out for just a basic collar. So go ahead and trace it out this way, this one, and I have the back neckline. You're going to place it on where the front stops, and then you also go ahead and trace it out, and that's basically it. Go ahead and blend it in this way, and you have your neckline ready. And you're just going to measure 1.5 inches inside this circle that you have here, and that would be the collar. There's another type of collar or facing that you see on other neck, which is just coming down 1.5 from this neckline that you already cut out. You come down 1.5, you mark it all around and connect it. So this, you'll be cutting it out, and then you add that 1.5 you minus, on the before cutting out the outer neck, remember we came down 1.5, just like this, just that 1.5. You're going to add it. For the front is going to be 3 inches, and for the back is going to be 3 inches. You add it all together, and then I think I'll have to do a separate tutorial because it's really not easy explaining all of this, but this is it for the outer neck. And this is the end of our tutorial, and I'll see you in my next video.